You know who that nation? I don't know about you, but I'm kind of fed up with the Saints offense. Averaging 19 points last year, 15 points this year. And I tried to give Pete Carmichael a chance, but it don't seem like it's working out. Conservative play calling, can't execute to its fullest. It's been a long time since we've seen this offense step on the field and dominate for all 4 quarters. Pete, it's been a long journey, but now I think it's time to say goodbye.
Tell me, have you ever seen a situation where the best thing the Saints can do, act like it can't be done? And it's time to do what's right. And I know deep down inside that the Saints organization got a lot of pride, but the offense is starting to die. And it's because of P. It's over. Time the Saints find another innovative offensive coordinator. Just look what you're doing. Sneaky Pete Carmichael. Yes, Pete, it's time to say goodbye. Saints fans staring at TVs wondering why. Did you have to call a deep pass on a 3rd and 5? Yes, Pete, it's time to say goodbye. I'm tired of looking at DA lie, saying you can right the ship, but inside everybody know it's time to say goodbye. Tell me why in the hell would you choose to call that play? No team in the world is falling for that fade. Yes, we know that, and it looks so sad. Red zone offense is the worst we've had. Tell me why in the hell would you choose to call that play? No team in the world is falling for that fade. Yes, we know that, and it looks so sad. Red zone offense is the worst we've had. Tell me why in the hell would you choose to call that play? No team in the world is falling for that fade. Yes, we know that, and it looks so sad. Red zone offense is the worst we've had. Tell me why in the hell would you choose to call that play? No team in the world is falling for that fade. Yes, we know that, and it looks so sad. Red zone offense is the worst we've had. Time for Sneaky Pete to go. Time for Sneaky Pete to go. Time for Sneaky Pete to go. It's time for Sneaky Pete to go. Time for Sneaky Pete to go. Time for Sneaky.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? We wasted enough time with the Sneaky Pete. What's going on? Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. You know what, man? Forget this, man. We're going to run this thing back.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Josephine. We want that Josephine. We want that Josephine. We want that Josephine. We got that Josephine. Johnny, Lord, have mercy. Hey, man, look, I ain't trying to beat on my own chest, but y'all know this the best intro among Saints podcasts. I don't care who doing it better. That's the best. I don't care what y'all say.
What's going on, Who That Nation? This is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk, that's right, New Orleans Saints. And shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody listening, no matter if you're at work. Hope you got your jig on at your desk. If you're at the gym, I hope that you got your jig on. What the heck is going on? I did not even press that. But anyway, where the fireworks come from? I guess that apropos about what we're going to talk about today, probably how some of you all feel about Pete Carmichael being fired by the New Orleans Saints. Look, this is unbelievable, man. This is unbelievable stuff that's going on right now among the Saints organization. I can't believe the fireworks. I did not press that, I promise. But anyway, change is a coming within the Saints organization. I cannot believe that they actually put out there that this dude got fired. Like, I'm serious. Like, I have been talking about this for months. I was like, they're just going to say that he stepped down, or they were probably going to, find a place for him within the organization, maybe different responsibilities or something like that. But I did not expect to see Pete Carmichael fired by the New Orleans Saints. Unbelievable stuff, man. But the New Orleans Saints are doing what needs to be done in order for them to become a formidable team. Now, they didn't do what we all wanted them to do, and in my opinion is basically inevitable, which is fire Dennis Allen. But I'll take this. Pete Carmichael, we know he's been the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints for 15 seasons. Some people have their thoughts about Pete Carmichael and how instrumental he was in calling offensive plays. We know that Sean Payton was the guy who called the plays most of the time during games. And Pete Carmichael, I like to say, but I just basically just say this, as a term of endearment, being on juicy fruit duty, because he didn't really call any plays. Now, Drew Brees has talked about him because, he said that he is one of the best at what he does. He's one of the most knowledgeable offensive minds that you're ever going to see. Now, we all know that Drew Brees is one of the nicest human beings on earth, and we know pretty sure in a few years, Drew Brees probably going to be running for public office, because it's pretty clear that Pete Carmichael is not very good at his job. And, when people are not good at their jobs, they get fired. It's just that simple. Now, I am not going to act oblivious to the fact that Pete Carmichael was a part of the resurgence and the renaissance of the New Orleans Saints, giving us credibility as fans, giving us something where we can actually cheer for, even though over the last couple of years, Dennis Allen has done the complete opposite. Pete Carmichael was a part of the staff and has been a part of the staff for a very long time. And, I want to thank Pete Carmichael for his contributions. I mentioned that on the last video. I appreciate Pete Carmichael and everything that he's done. At one time, he probably was a really good coordinator. But this is a modern-day NFL. And we know that the New Orleans Saints were stuck in neutral, stuck in 92, stuck in 82, and in some cases even stuck in 62 when it came to the offense. Not really using motion, not really utilizing guys like Rashid Shaheed, only giving him 2 or 3 touches a game, which is an absolute embarrassment to anybody. And look, everybody kind of saw this coming. Everybody saw this coming. Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder could see this coming, that Pete Carmichael was going to be canned. Now, the words fired, once again, was a shock to me, but we pretty much knew that this was going to happen. But I will say this. I'm tired of the excuses. This is another guy who is being used as a scapegoat. Yes, I am calling it out. Another guy who is being used as a scapegoat to hide the incompetence and the lack of leadership that is coming from Dennis Allen. That's right. I don't care what anybody says. I am sick and tired of people trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the Who Dat Nation. I am tired of the fluff. I am tired of the small talk. I am tired of people trying to make it seem like Saints fans are just complaining about the Saints coaching staff, and what they're actually seeing isn't worth us being in an uproar about. And I'm putting myself in this. Yes, I am a broadcast journalist. Yes, I am a writer. Yes, I am a guy who covers the NFL and college football. But I am a Saints fan at the end of the day. And this is one of the biggest issues that I have with not all of the media personalities out there covering the team. You got some good ones out there. But for those out there that are just so happy and trying to be content with trying to hold on to their position, so they're trying to make it seem like the New Orleans Saints fans are just, complaining just to complain. Let me explain something to all of them out there. First and foremost, a lot of them aren't from the city. You have a passionate team since the 60s, since the 70s, since the 80s, since the 90s, since the early 2000s, since the 2010s. They have been rooting for this team. And while you were somewhere in some other state somewhere trying to cover another team, you were given an opportunity to cover this team. And when we, as fans, talk about the ineptitude of this football team, some of us think about the days of the 90s, like myself, being in my late 30s. I understand how bad this football team was. You also have a more of a modern day Saints fan base who never really understand how terrible this team was. They daddy probably told them, grandma probably told them, auntie, uncle probably told them, but they don't understand that. And I just feel like you are doing a disservice to the Saints fans when you are just basically saying, oh, well, people just need to understand this isn't how the Saints work. They're just not one of those organizations that just go out there and have knee-jerk reactions. It's not about having knee-jerk reactions. It's about actually paying attention to what you're actually seeing. Contrary to popular belief, there are some Saints fans out there that understand football, that can break down X's and O's with some of the best of them and understand what good football actually looks like. And I have a problem when people are trying to hold their position and trying to keep the graces, being the good graces of the Saints organization, so they're not telling it like it is. The reality is Dennis Allen leaves a lot to be desired. The reality is Pete Carmichael, even though he deserves to be fired, was used as a scapegoat. I don't care what you say. I don't care who gets mad at this. If you are not doing a service to the Who Dat Nation, if you are not a man or a woman of the people, then we don't have any use for you. And basically, you're all in it for yourself. Call it for what it is. This is a do or die situation for Dennis Allen. If Dennis Allen cannot get it done this season, the Saints need to move on from him. How many times do you have to prop a guy up for you to understand that he is not the guy? How many ways that you're going to have to put braces underneath him? You're basically, at this point, you're basically putting up a scarecrow here, right? You got his arms spread out. You got his legs spread out. You know what I'm saying? And now, what are you trying to do? Like, you're going to take him off the stake, and guess what's going to happen? He's going to fall flat down to the ground. It's just that plain and that simple. That's the reality of this thing. Look, I ain't trying to knock anybody. If I ain't talking about you, I ain't talking about you. But I'm going to tell you here, and I'm going to be 100% with you. I don't care about my position. I don't care about being in the good graces of the Saints organization. When I care about the people, I care about the people that root for this team like me, who grew up in a city, who grew up rooting for this team, no matter if you're from the Gulf Coast or wherever you are. I'm going to tell it like it is. And if that means that I would never step foot around that area, I'm okay with that because I ain't trying to lie to kick it. I don't care about positions. And it's time for people to stop thinking about themselves and start calling it for what it is. This guy was railroaded. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the reality. He was railroaded. He was scapegoated. And Dennis Allen lives to fight another day. No more excuses for Dennis Allen. I don't want to hear anything. I will go a little deeper. If the Saints do not fire Dennis Allen after another lackluster season, I am advocating for Saints fans not to show up to the games until he's gone. Hell, I can make a compelling argument right now that they shouldn't show up to the games in 2024 until some improvements are met. But I'm not going to do that because I understand that every single year there's a different team
different philosophies, yada, yada, yada. But I'm telling you, this cannot continue. This cannot continue if they let go of Pete Carmichael, they bring somebody else in, and we're still seeing the same thing. We're seeing the same results. Because at the end of the day, you have to look at your head coach. If you're going to turn a blind eye to what is obviously in your face, don't expect for the fan base to do it too. It's just that plain and that simple. It is time for all the fluff to go away. Call this man out. Call it for what it is. If this guy isn't living up to expectations, say it. But I also know you got to play the game too. But I ain't got no time for it. But the reality is Pete Carmichael is gone, and the New Orleans Saints are looking for another offensive coordinator. There's a lot of names that have come up. There's a lot of names that we can mention, right? We heard about John Gruden, them having a meeting. I'm talking about the Saints organization having a meeting with him when the Saints played Tampa. They went out to Tampa and talked with him. There's some other coaches out there, which I actually have some names of some coaches that I can bring up throughout the show that I feel like would be great fits for the New Orleans Saints in the direction of where the NFL is going. But, we'll get into that a little bit later. Y'all know how we do it here. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, go ahead and put them down into the chat. Feel free to do that. I really do appreciate you all's time and appreciate everybody just taking the time out to listen and also view, for those that can, the State of the Saints podcast. I'm going to read some of these comments and we'll go ahead and get started from there. And then after that, we'll go into where the Saints may need to go when it comes to offensive coordinators. We got No Cap, No Filter. He says, Mickey says, I know we got the right people in the house and then fires Pete. I'm happy it happened, but I'm just saying stuff be sounding good until it's judgment day. Dennis Allen next. No excuses to hide. I can make an argument right now, No Cap, that the dude should have been fired. He should have been fired this season. I mean, it's just that plain and simple. When you combine the fact that the Saints underachieved yet again, and I ain't trying to hear that stuff about Marshawn Lattimore and Michael Thomas and all them guys not being there, because you had 10 games before the bottom started to fall out for this team. So you had 10 opportunities in order for you to go out there and put forth a really good effort. But it was a win one, lose one, a whole mixed bag. And miss me with that stuff about Derek Carr being injured and playing, because if Derek Carr was too injured to play and he wasn't playing up to his expectations, the coaching staff, they should have been strong enough. They should have been more, they should have stepped in and said, you know what, Derek, we appreciate what you're doing. You're a tough SOB, but guess what? We want to make sure that you're healthy down the stretch. We're going to roll with Jameis Winston. We're going to try to come up with a game plan to try to win a couple of these games. And when you're back to being close to 100%, we'll monitor that and we'll have you out there. Who knows where the New Orleans Saints would have been? And then on top of that, I feel bad in certain ways because, if you're talking about injuries and all that kind of stuff, I mean, Derek Carr didn't really do himself any favors because he was willing to go out there and play like slow just to be out there. So it's like you put yourself in that position and you're trying to introduce yourself to the Saints organization, right? I mean, people are looking at you as if, you are the answer to the problems. Now, some people just felt like, it wasn't going to happen, but you're introducing yourself to a completely different franchise. Like, nobody cares what you did for the Raiders. Nobody cares about how many yards you put up, how many fourth-quarter comebacks you facilitated. Nobody cares about that stuff. And you put yourself in a position for people to just instantly despise you. Right? You know what I'm saying? So to me, I feel like it wasn't just on Derek Carr. It was on the Saints organization. But as we see the way that the Saints organization is constructed under Dennis Allen, they have a very passive-aggressive type attitude. Inmates kind of run the asylum. I'm not, calling football players inmates. I'm only using that as a metaphor. All I'm saying is, guys aren't being held accountable. So Derek Carr saying, I'm playing. Nobody's going to step in and say, Derek, look, we know you can play better than this, man. We appreciate the effort. We know you're a warrior. We got to sit you down for a couple of weeks. Nobody is brave enough to say that because everybody's afraid about how Derek Carr is going to perceive that. And that is something that I feel is going to be the demise of Dennis Allen. Like a tiger cannot change its stripes. They can't. It's rather you're a tiger or you're not. And to me, you can put a huge coach, like you can put an award-winning coaching staff. I mean, you can have, I don't know, you can have Buddy Ryan as your defensive coordinator. You can have Don Coryell as your offensive coordinator. You can have Mike Singletary as your defensive line coach. You can come forward with a all-star cast. If you don't have the right coach in place, you're still you're going to be below expectations. So to me, I just think that the Saints are basically just wasting everybody's time here. Now, I am one of those individuals. If I'm wrong, I will come on the State of the Saints podcast and formally apologize to Dennis Allen. I would. But as of right now, I don't feel like I have anything to apologize for. They're propping up a scarecrow at this point. I know it. You know it. And no matter what they put around him, he's going to find a way to screw it up, in my opinion. I mean, what excuse can you have, right? The excuse in 2022 was you had a bunch of Sean Payton layovers, right? So let him get his own coaching staff. Let him get his own quarterback. What happened? What happened? And miss me with that stuff about, oh, well, this is Derek Carr's first year. First off, was it not Matthew Stafford's first year? Was it not his first year with the Rams? And then they go to the Super Bowl. I'm just confused here, right? So if Derek Carr was like that, and if Dennis Allen was a formidable enough coach, wouldn't the Saints actually be in the playoffs? Wouldn't they actually be contending for a Super Bowl? I'm just saying, like, all these people out here that's trying to act like Derek Carr is just a 2-year player, not a 10-year vet. Like, miss me with that stuff right there, man. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like, we have to start thinking about some of the things before we say them. Instead of saying, oh, it's a new system, it's a new philosophy. Like, seriously, we've seen quarterbacks that are veterans go to other teams, come from a system where they've been running for X amount of years, over a decade, and they come and they go to another team and they don't miss a beat. So for all those out there that's talking about, well, it's his first year, man, miss me with those excuses. It's rather you got it or you don't. And like I said, I think that the Saints are prolonging the inevitable. Until I'm proven otherwise, that's just the way that I feel. No cap, a little whistle of wind has left me after hearing the good news, because this is a start. 9-8 ain't enough though. But after the next season, DA going, get towards no reason to be content. I've been hearing a lot of stuff about the Saints organization, and I don't know why Saints fans are so surprised. Why are they so surprised about the Saints organization? They've always run like this. They've always been constructed like this. Like let me help people understand something, right? Like, because a lot of times when we listen to stuff, it sounds good and it sounds like, oh, they making some really good points. But you got to think about this. Think about what they're actually saying. They're saying that Mickey Loomis does not have the reputation for moving on from coaches right away. He has this Zen-like patience about himself. But think about this. Mickey Loomis became the general manager of the New Orleans Saints in 2002, right? In 2002. When he became the general manager of the New Orleans Saints, who was the head coach? It was Jim Haslett. Now, some people will say, well, Jim Haslett has 79 seasons. But what they won't tell you is, somebody please tell me, all my Saints historians out there, who is the first head coach to win a playoff game for the New Orleans Saints? That would be Jim Haslett. So at this particular time, Jim Haslett gave the Saints the most prosperous season they've ever had in franchise history. Even though it was 2 years before Mickey Loomis came along, he still built up enough credibility in order for the Saints to stick with him, because he gave them the most prosperous moment in franchise history. So there was something there, right? Then you decide to move on from Jim Haslett after what 2 or 3 seasons, right? Because you were patient with him because he gave you that prosperity. People would say, well, Sean Payton had a couple down years, What about 2007? What about 2008? They'll tell you that, but they won't talk about in 2006 when Mickey Loomis hired Sean Payton as the head coach. Somebody please tell me, how far did the Saints get in the playoffs? Oh yeah, they got to the NFC Championship game. They went to the NFC Championship game, and I'm not the smartest man in the room. I just been following the Saints since I was 4, but wouldn't that be like the largest like string of prosperity the New Orleans Saints have ever had in their franchise's history? They never went to the NFC Championship game until 2006 when they hired Sean Payton. So that is another coach that gave the New Orleans Saints more prosperity, building off what Jim Haslett did, which is win a wild card game. He not only won that game, he won the divisional round. He won a divisional round game, which is the most the Saints have ever won, right? And they went to an NFC Championship game for the first time. So they gave you prosperous moments. So of course he's going to be patient. If the first season you get to the NFC Championship game, somewhere your organization has never been, and if the Saints have 2 down seasons, of course he's going to be patient with them because this is the coach that got them the most prosperity ever. So after that, they won the Super Bowl in 2009. And if you're a losing franchise, who is going to move on from that? This is a coach that gave you something that you never had, a championship. So why in the world would they move on from that? So when they say stuff like, "Oh, well, he has like a Zen-like patience. He's not quick to react." Because look what the 2 coaches that he inherited did. Look what they did. So why in the world would he move on from 2 coaches that gave the organization the most prosperity they ever had? That makes absolutely no sense. So when there's a difference between Haslett, Payton, and Allen. Allen has done absolutely nothing as a head coach, from being with the Raiders, from being with the Saints. And then you top it off with players basically doing whatever the hell they want to do, not really being held accountable for anything, and you losing? Like, give me a freaking break. What are we doing here, man? This is what I'm talking about when I say they're trying to protect this organization in some ways. They'll give you just enough in order for you to come back, make it feel like they're giving you something, they're doing a service to you. But at the end of the day, they're looking out for themselves and their best interest. Like, miss me with all of that nonsense right there. It's rather you got it or you don't. You know, look, right now, if I could think about a musical artist, Dennis Allen would be Milli Vanilli. That's what he would be. You know, they got him propped up looking apart. You know what I'm saying? He doing a little dance. Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But it ain't him singing. You know what I'm saying? You propping him up right now, but you're trying to put all these different bells and whistles around him to make him look the part. He is not the part. And until I am proven otherwise, I'm going to continue to say the same thing about Dennis Allen. So they can miss me with the nonsense. I'm tired of it. Saints interviewing Dan Pitcher, any info on him? No, I do not have any info on Dan Pitcher, but I will be glad to look him up real quick, see what we're talking about here. Let's see, Dan Pitcher. All right, here we go. Dan Pitcher, he is the quarterback's coach of the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me look at his resume. Here's his resume, as Antonio Brown would say. As an administrator, he was from 2012 to 2013. He was a scouting assistant. And he also was a pro scout from 2014 to 2015. So this is a guy who, this is a guy who understands about scouting, which is a good thing. He, from 2020 to the present, he is the quarterback's coach. So he's been working with Joe Burrow throughout the years. So another, this organization is so predictable. Now, somebody please tell me. Somebody please tell me. What college did Joe Burrow go to? He went to LSU, right? Y'all see what I'm talking about here? Y'all see what I'm talking about? So when you look at Dan Pitcher. Oh, he came from the Bengals. Oh, he worked with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went to LSU. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm telling y'all, man, all these political moves that they trying to make here, like y'all know what it is, man. This basically is because he worked with Joe Burrow. Now, I'm not saying that the guy isn't talented. I'm not saying that the guy isn't, going to be, wouldn't be a good coordinator. I'm not saying any of those things. But all I'm saying is to get the Saints fans excited because they got a guy who rubbed elbows with arguably one of the most, renowned LSU Tigers of all time in Joe Burrow. Like, give me a freaking break on that, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know. But let's just finish reading about Dan Pitcher right there. He was the quarterbacks coach from 2020 to the present with the Cincinnati Bengals. He was the assistant quarterback coach back in 2019. He was the offensive assistant from 2016 to 2018. He spent most of his time in Cincinnati. Except for SUNY, Southern New York, Cortland, he was the wide receivers coach back in 2012. So this is a guy who spent the majority of his career with the Cincinnati Bengals. So, and he worked with Joe Burrow. So I guess we all should be excited and turn backflips because, he worked with an LSU player. I mean, yeah, I guess. But anyway, let me go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. It says, I think the team needs a hard reset and to get rid of every coach and most of the players who had anything to do with the Sean Payton era. I think Kamara right. This team has no identity because its identity is in Denver. I agree with that, Derek. I mean, basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep the same type of, they're trying to keep that same type of energy going. Dan Pitcher who was that just asked me that? Corey. Dan Pitcher is 37 years old. He's a young coach. He's a young coach. And like I said, I'm not saying that he wouldn't be a good coordinator. I mean, if he's working in Cincinnati, they do a really good job. I mean, we know about the talent that they have out there with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Boyd. They got some talent. So I'm not saying that the guy's the right person for the job. I'm just saying like the fact that he worked alongside Joe Burrow is going to get Louisiana fans excited. And like, man, it's a political thing to me. Mickey Loomis is a two-job title gatekeeper, worse than Jerry Jones, an owner. If he loses Harley or Ireland, more trouble ahead for him. And I said this, and it's crazy that this is actually going around. But I mentioned this. I said when Kai Harley was asked to be interviewed by the Carolina Panthers, I was saying, like, you don't want to lose this guy, right? You don't want to lose Kai Harley. So why not keep him on staff? Like, he's already proven that he's good at his job. He's been very instrumental at, some of the things and practices that you've done. He's been around the organization and he's talented. So if you have Mickey Loomis, who Father Time just alluded to, has two positions. He's the executive vice president of the football team. And he also serves as a general manager. Why not just relinquish the general manager title and give it to Kai Harley and make Kai Harley the general manager? Because if Mickey Loomis is the executive vice president, he still holds the same position where he can actually hire and fire people. So what's the difference, right? You still calling the shots and you're basically overseeing the entire organization. So what's the difference? What's the difference between, just having a GM title and being the executive vice president? When Kai Harley still makes moves, you're still going to be in a room when he makes them, right? And you still got to have the same type of power, if not more, than you had when you was the general manager. So why not give Kai Harley what he deserves, which is a general manager job, and you can be, you can keep him around for many more years to come. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I mean, it's crazy that I'm hearing stories about Kyle Harley possibly becoming a Saints GM and Mickey Loomis stepping down. Because, I mean, I promise you, like, I was just talking about that. And I've said that before, episodes past. So it's crazy to actually see something that I'm saying, like, actually coming to fruition. Loomis is live. Okay, let's see. If Loomis is live, let's go ahead and see if I can actually see that, pull that up real quick. Let's see. Mickey Loomis is live right now. Let's go ahead and see which I am. All right, let's go ahead and listen in on a little bit of what Mick has to say here. Here we go.
Some other positions where this is applicable too. You know, you make an assessment and a vision of where you have them, and if that doesn't work out, you know, you look at their strengths and weaknesses, say maybe we can. I think with Trevor, look, we didn't do him any favors. You know, he comes as a rookie, he gets hurt, you know, he misses 10 games. We play in the back half of that season, primarily in a jumbo role, and he did some good things, and then he gets hurt, and he has no off season, and then we throw him in there as the starter, you know, week one. Listen, I think a lot of that falls on us in terms of, you know, where he was and what he was ready to do, and so I'm still pretty high on Trevor Penning. I think we all are, but we recognize that, hey, look, we've got to do a better job in terms of development and preparing him to be ready, and I think we'll do that this offseason. I think we'll have a good plan for him.
And it was a decision to bring Dennis back a fairly easy one, and also like how much did the finishing 4-1 over the end of the season?
Yeah. Look, here's what I think. I think sometimes, you know, the easy thing to do, the lazy thing to do is look at the results of a season and say, it's a coach's fault or it's the quarterback's fault. I think oftentimes you have to look beyond that. I was prepared for this question, right? Chuck Noll, his first 3 years, Hall of Fame coach, he was 1-13, 5-9, 6-8. But they recognize that this guy's a good football coach, right? Bill Belichick, here's his first 3 seasons, 6-10, 7-9, 7-9. Tom Landry, 0-11, 4-9, 5-8, 4-10, 5-8. Hall of Fame coaches, all of them. Bill Walsh, first year, 2-14. Second year, 6-10. So I think the easy thing to do is just look at the results and say, oh no, we've got to have a change. You got to look beyond that. You know, what are the reasons why we were 9-8 instead of, you know, 13-4? And look, it's collective. It's the players. It's the coaches. It's me. It's our personnel staff, our roster. It's variables sometimes that we don't have any control of. And so my assessment is Dennis Allen is a good coach. And again, you know, with Sean Payton, we went 10-6 the first year, but then we were 7-9, 8-8. And I heard some of the same noise.
Wait a minute. Okay, let me pause, Dave. That's a very very great point that he brought up. That's a very very great point. But can anybody help me in telling me what's the difference between those coaches back then and the coaches of the modern day NFL? A salary cap. The Rooney family back in the 70s, right? If you had like a certain amount of money, it was almost like a baseball system, right? So it was like a baseball system. So if you had like an influx of money, the only thing that matters is paying the players. So if you had a big bankroll, you can pay, you know, Mean Joe Green. You can pay Terry Bradshaw. You can pay, you know what I'm saying, Jack Lambert. You can pay all those talented guys. When Tank Schramm, who was the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, when he started opening up the checkbook, he got Roger Staubach, he got Drew Pearson, he got all these other guys. He was able to pay them. They started winning championships. That's the difference. Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, I can't remember who else that he mentioned, but most of the guys that he mentioned, they had an open salary cap. So for him to actually compare coaches from yesteryear, you know what I'm saying? Like that's absolutely asinine at this particular point. But he did have a good point when it came to Belichick, and he did have a good point when it came to one. I can't remember the other coach that he named, but I just found that to be very, very weird. Continue.
But at the time, I knew we had a good football coach, and so hard thing to do is to be patient and recognize your other shortcomings and get those fixed, and that's what we're doing.
There's been some talk about like the culture a little bit. What are some of the things with the culture that you feel like need to change?
Yeah, I don't like the word culture necessarily because I think, look, we got really good guys, willing. And I think, look, a lot of things that I said to the players, I'm sure you guys are aware of it, were for the players' ears only. I think collectively, though, that everybody, if you ask, do you want to win? Everybody stands up. They raise their hand, right? Everybody says, "What are you willing to do? What's necessary to win?" They all raise their hand. But sometimes we're not doing the things that are necessary to win. And that's on me. That's on me 100%. I've got to hold our guys to a standard to do the things necessary to win. And I think that I probably let that slip a little bit over the last few years. And so we're gonna get that recalibrated. And so that's my message to our entire building. It's not just to the players or just the coaches. It's to our entire building.
Is some of that stuff like extra homework to study and taking care of the body? Stuff
Well, there's a lot of things. And I think I was pretty specific about what those things are, but that's really for their ears, not for your ears.
Can I elaborate at all about how it's on you if you don't deal with the players day to day?
Excuse me?
Well, you said that it's on you, but since you're not the one dealing with those players day to day and kind of, looking over their...
Well, look, I'm accountable for that. We have a certain standard here, and look, some of it's out of our control. COVID, league rules. There's things that are out of our control, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a standard that we set. And look, it starts with me. It does, and certainly our head coach and our coaching staff and all the people in the building are responsible for it. But it begins with me.
Mickey, I don't know if this has been addressed, but going back, talking about, you don't like the word culture, but as far as the camaraderie amongst teammates.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the victory formation and what occurred there, I don't know if this has been asked, like Jamal Williams, did he have an incentive, like you score X amount of touchdowns? So that didn't come into play. So it wasn't like you scored a touchdown, you get extra 100,000 or nothing. That wasn't.
No, look, I think this has been talked about way too much. Frankly, look, I get it. Players wanted to do a favor for one of their teammates, and probably didn't think it completely through. I would rather we not do that, but there was no underlying message to that. It was all exactly what it appeared to be. They're trying to do a favor for a teammate, get him a touchdown, and it just wasn't appropriate in my view. But it's overblown. I think it's overblown.
No, I just brought up the monetary reason because I know.
No, there was no incentive or there's no financial reward.
I remember I had started 12 games and I got a $250,000 bonus.
If you scored one touchdown?
No, if I took the first snap, and it's the things they want me to play. He goes, "Oh, I know you banged up the knee." And
That doesn't happen here.
And
We're not doing that.
And I said, "I'm playing." I said, "You shoot me up, whatever. I'm playing. I'm going to get that money."
Yeah.
That's why I said that you get so.
I understand the question, but that's not part of the equation
I
here.
know things can change when it comes to potential offensive coordinator coming in the building, but were the moves that y'all made on the offensive side of the coaching staff yesterday the only moves that you intend to make at this time?
Yeah, I don't know that that's the case yet. I'm not anticipating anything either way.
I know another phrase you probably dismiss as being overused, lost the locker room, and I heard you kind of dismiss that the other night. But is that, you say most people should be able to look beyond the results, but I mean, players have felt the effects of 3 losing seasons too, and you felt the need to have this talk with them after the season. Is that a danger with players not believing that this coaching staff will have the answers when you go through 3 losing seasons? I mean, is that something?
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
I mean, you feel confident that this team stays?
You should be worried about it.
Look, there's a lot of things about our team that I really, really like too. So, look, I like that we played hard. I like that we finished 4 out of the last 5. Effort, those kinds of things that happen in games. Even when things were going poorly, were really good. Got a lot of, I had a lot of individual talks with players, and I came away from those feeling really positive about a lot of things.
You said you wanted to change offensively. Are you referring to like a kind of a step away from what y'all have done for a long time here with Sean and Pete, or is this just a matter of getting a new set of eyes?
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen.
How concerned you are with the future of Ryan Ramczyk, always going to be a top lineman, and with his knee issue?
Yeah, I think, look, anytime you have a good player who's going through a tough thing health-wise, you're always concerned. And yet, I have a positive feeling about where he's going to end up. And I think he does as well.
When it comes to the offense coordinator, it's obviously been a long time since there's been a change in that regard. Is that search different from, say, a position coach? Is there a bit more weight to it, and do you approach it differently?
Yeah, I mean, it's different because the responsibilities are different. Particularly when you have a defensive head coach and you're looking for an offensive coordinator. Yeah, just no different than when Sean was a head coach and we went through searches for defensive coordinators. So, yeah, it's different.
What are you looking for in the next offensive coordinator? I mean, coming off of parting ways with the guy that was around for 18 years, it gives you an opportunity to really know what it is that you like.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in the next guy?
Yeah, I think we have a set of criteria that a lot of different guys can fill. We're just kind of going through that process now, so I think I'll leave it at that.
How did you view Derek's first year during the Wolves?
Yeah, I think he did a lot of good things, and wasn't perfect for certain, but he did a lot of good things. And listen, I think that he was hurt for a good portion of the season, probably more so than he would let on or that was out there. So I felt like he kind of hit a stride toward the end, and we did collectively too. So, and he's not the only player or position that was the case for.
Were you surprised how well Andrews played at left tackle? Because usually you don't talk about him when they mean he's doing his job, and I thought he was outstanding considering that mainly he's a guard and then how he finished the whole season at left tackle.
Yeah, I would say he gets thrown back out there. And did a good job. He did. Really pleased with that, and I think that gives him some confidence as well.
Every offseason is a balancing act between putting together the best roster and staying fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
Do you ever get to the point where, when you're over the cap every offseason, where you look at it and say,
You mean like every year?
What's that?
You mean like every year?
Yeah, like every year, where you say maybe we need to look at the financial foundation for the future, and maybe make some tough decisions with older players and count on our player development and drafting and free agency and roll the dice a little, counting on younger people to evolve.
Hey, I'm going to say this before I get back into this. I'm looking at this interview right here, and I'm going to be honest with you. When I'm looking at Mickey Loomis, it's starting to make perfect sense why he decided to keep Dennis Allen. And I honestly don't feel like it has anything to do with him actually fully believing in Dennis Allen. I feel like because of Dennis Allen's passive-aggressive behavior, I feel like because Dennis Allen isn't one of those coaches that's going to rock the boat or anything like that. I feel like for the first time in almost 20 years, Mickey Loomis feels more empowered than the head coach did. I think that Sean Payton and his huge shadow that he cast across the New Orleans Saints organization during the time he was there, and the fact that he basically made himself made of Teflon, it made Mickey Loomis play the background somewhere that he didn't want to be. And you can tell, just looking at him and listening to him talk, for the first time in his life, in his Saints life, probably since the Haslett era, he feels like he's more empowered than anybody else within his organization, and he likes feeling the way that he does. That's the way I'm looking at it. I think it keeping Dennis Allen around makes him feel more empowered. It has absolutely nothing to do with Dennis Allen being a good head coach or him actually believing in it. It's the fact that for the first time, people are more willing to listen and anticipating listening to him more than anybody else, even more than Dennis Allen. Now, ask yourself this question. When Sean Payton anticipating to hear from more, Sean Payton or Mickey Loomis? Now, just think about Dennis Allen. Who are you listening to and trying to get answers from the most? Dennis Allen or Mickey Loomis?
Yeah, I think we go through that process every year in the off season, and I've said this before is that we had kind of a vision and a plan for post Drew Brees, and then COVID hits and we get this big setback relative to the cap and finances, and so that's caused us to recalibrate a little bit. But the answer to the question is yes, we do that. I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, but we do that.
What was
And we have to make up some ground. There's no question. Over a period of time here, we're going to have to make up some ground cap-wise.
What was the thinking behind the timing of reworking Marshawn Latimer's bonus, like while the season was still going on, and making it an option bonus? Like, I mean, obviously some of those come
it's just cap management. I don't want to get into the details of it.
There wasn't a purpose to be like that.
Yeah, there's a purpose. I'm not going to tell you what the purpose is.
Consider trading.
It's just cap. It's just cap management. That's what it is.
Since 2017 draft was incredible. Since then, how would you evaluate what you've done since then, and will you tweak your philosophy as far as the draft?
Nope.
Have you evaluated that as to what you might do to maybe get some more results there?
You would not.
Yeah. Well, look, I think a number of these drafts, the results have yet to be written. And look, 2017 was incredible, right? I don't expect to duplicate that every year. I'd like to duplicate that every year, but don't have that expectation. So, no, I think our philosophies are sound, and I don't see that changing.
Yeah, I was just curious. It didn't come out yesterday, but maybe it wouldn't. Or is anybody on the current staff up for the OC job? I mean, or is that not?
Yeah, I'm going to keep that list to ourselves right now. But those candidates will come out eventually.
How about with Coach Marone? A lot of fans have asked me how he's developing the offensive line, and guys putting up their expectations. And I mean, I don't know if it's just a rumor, he might end up retiring all the years that he's coach. So where do you think Coach Marone's at along with the offensive line right now?
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic coach. I do, and I haven't heard anything about him retiring, so that would be a surprise to me.
You mentioned some of the stats earlier about maybe not paying attention to them. You've seen this league evolve over decades.
Yeah.
Where do you or how do you reconcile the data-driven analytics versus kind of that gut feel, so to say?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, I think that analytics have been around a long, long time, way longer than we've been talking about them. They existed in 1983 when I started. We just didn't call them analytics. I think it's a tool in the toolbox, right? And you have to view it as such. And so I just look at it. And look, we got a lot more data, a lot more information than we did certainly then. And even in the last 3 or 4 years, we got a lot more data that we need to pay attention to. And so we do. But it's a tool in the toolbox. And there's still, some of these analytics tell you to go for it on every fourth down, right? Well, what if you don't have a fourth down play that you like, right? What if you have a player that's injured at a particular position that's key to? So there's just a lot of factors and variables, and so I look at analytics as valuable, but a tool in the toolbox.
Can I ask that? You just referenced 1983, but people ask this question, and rumors get out there with social media and stuff like that. You've been doing this a long time. Your role is not changing here. You seem energetic about recalibrating the organization. The front office is staying the same as far as your position.
Yeah, I saw a couple things. That was just made up. Whatever. I know what you're referencing. Somebody just made that up. That's never been discussed or talked about. Now, am I slower? Yeah, I probably ran a 4.5 when I was 30, and I don't think I could run 5 flat right now. So I am slower. But yeah, I've been asked that question. You get asked that when you get to a certain age, right? Whatever age that is. And I've said, look, I'm just going to wake up one morning and say this is the day. And it's not going to be tomorrow, but everything for the next 10 years is open. We'll see.
Vicki, when you were asked about DA earlier, you mentioned the stats of other coaches' careers, but what are some of the things he's done in the last 2 years, or some of the qualities he has that led you to believe that he can get the team back to the playoffs?
Yeah, well, I think the things that the head coach is responsible for, game day management, scheduling, all the things that you guys don't.
So he pretty much answered that Kyle Harley question. Don't look like Kyle Harley going to be the general manager. So there you go.
See that I see or that we see internally, I feel good about. And yeah, there's certainly areas that he can quarterback change. We've had, some things changed in the last two or 3 years. And so we got to look at ourselves and say, okay, what's our expectations? Are they realistic? And if we're not meeting those expectations, what can we do differently? And I don't believe that that's the head coach right now. I like Dennis Allen. I think he's a good coach.
Offensive coordinator, do you share that with Derek Carr as far as his input and what he thinks? Or is it like, okay, you make the decision and then he has to accept it, or is he involved in that?
Yeah, we don't ask our players to make decisions. We don't. That's not a burden. That's not a burden that we put on them. Now we talk to a lot of our veteran players about the season, about the things that we expect from them, and they should certainly have expectations from us. But we're not asking them to do any evaluations of any kind.
I mean, just to kind of rephrase that a little bit. Well, Derek Carr's, whatever offense coordinator you go with, Derek's obviously got to be a big factor in that decision, right? Like he's got to be able to work with that.
Well, look, when we make a hire, when Dennis makes a hire, certainly he's going to make the hire that'll work for him. But that'll be our assessment. That won't be. We're not going to ask him if he approves of A, B, or C, right? Does that make sense?
When you guys do hire the OC, will the OC have input on some of the openings, like maybe guys that he would want to bring with him? How does that come?
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
If you do, and again, things that are out there, I know you can't talk about coaches, but John Gruden's name keeps popping up. How much of it has to be, him as a person, but knowing the situation and what happened and how he feels about it, just from a news perspective, not even talking about him here?
Yeah, it's a fair question, but I don't really want to talk about any individual candidates for that role. It's a fair question, but yeah, we'll answer that when we hire.
How quickly do you expect that process to go? Is it one where you would like to take a little bit more time doing it, or is it, I think another is it kind of a rapid approach?
Yeah, I think, look, one of the mistakes that our league in general makes is, we're in a rush and a race to hire people because we're afraid of, someone else, beating us to the draw. I think that's a mistake. I think the most important thing is get the right guy in the right situation, take your time, make sure it's a thoughtful, planned decision. So we're gonna go through the process, and we're gonna make the right hire. We're not gonna make the expedient hire.
Do you anticipate in restructuring Derek Carr's contract this offseason?
I don't know.
We're not going to talk about that.
We're going to have to restructure a lot of contracts.
Yeah. But for him too, I mean, like, in theory, you could.
Hey, I don't care what anybody says. This is a guy who knows what the masses are really saying about him. And he knows what a lot of people's opinions and views are of him. And honestly, like, he's intentionally being an a-hole here. Like, for him to say that, like, he knows that people are, like, frustrated with Derek Carr, and, they just trying to, get him off the books as quickly as possible. He knows what people are saying. Like, when these guys talk about, I don't really read the dirt sheets, I don't really read the tweets. Number one, he basically said that he's seen the story come out, he's seen the tweet. So for him to even jump in front of that reporter to know what he said, they know what's going on. So for him to actually, say, well, we got to restructure a lot of deals, that, I'm telling you, that was, to me, that's a shot at the people that are very, very critical of Derek Carr. And he knows that people want the Saints to rid themselves of Derek Carr as quickly as possible. Look, man, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there so we can go ahead and read some of these comments. Look, this is a guy, to me, that's just happy to be in a position he hasn't been in a long time, and that's at the forefront. And he needs, I cannot stress this enough. You don't have to believe me. Just look at it. He needs Dennis Allen to work. It's not even about Dennis Allen being the right guy. He needs Dennis Allen to work because Dennis Allen, being in a position that he's in, empowers him. Like, think about this. When Sean Payton was the head coach, I'm going to continue to say this. When Sean Payton was the head coach, he was the voice of the Saints. He was the one that you wanted to listen to. And Mickey Loomis played the background. That's what he was. But when you have a coach that's basically a lame duck like Dennis Allen, it makes you want to listen to Mickey Loomis because you want to get answers from him. And it makes him feel stronger than he's ever been as he's been one of the executives within his organization. It's just that plain and simple. So to me, it has very little to do with Dennis Allen and everything to do with him being happy in this new position where he can sit down and chew gum unknowingly and basically answers nothing. Let's see. Cool Sports, thank you very much for the 1999. Says he made one good point, but he still is dancing around the question and don't seem to be willing to face all of the facts. I'm happy that we're getting a new offensive coordinator, but we need more changes. I agree with that. I agree that we need more changes. I'm going to go ahead and stroll down a little bit. I'll go ahead and stroll down. Thank y'all for being here. It says he's standing on business about Dennis Allen. He's standing on business about Dennis Allen because, once again, he needs Dennis Allen to work. Makes him look empowering. Makes him feel like he's Jerry Jones and Dennis Allen is Mike McCarthy or something like that, or Jason Garrett. Like, what can Dennis Allen do at this point? He's at the mercy. He's at the mercy of Mickey Loomis. Like, Dennis hasn't won anything. Dennis hasn't did anything to stamp, like, to solidify himself as the head coach of the Saints for the foreseeable future. So he's basically he has no choice but to play the background, right? I mean, that's just what it all there is to it. And as long as Dennis Allen maintain that position, it's going to make Mickey Loomis feel more empowering. I mean, this is a guy to me that is just so stubborn to it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it is ridiculous to see how stubborn this dude is. Like, he is so stubborn. Like, he feels like he has like all the answers to everything. Like, you can tell he's the type of guy where he just won't budge. Like, even if you present like compelling arguments to him, just for the simple fact that it didn't come from him, he wouldn't do it. He strikes me as that type of arrogant person. And a lot of the answers to these questions, I'm telling you, they are based on him understanding what the fan base wanted. And this entire press conference, to me, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to do it. But basically, it's two middle fingers to the fans. Basically saying, I know what I'm doing. Y'all sit back and do whatever. I know what I'm doing. I don't need y'all opinion. I know football. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. That's what this is about. This is a guy who basically never really had to answer a tough question in almost 20 years because he had a quarterback and a coach that basically made him look the part. So he really didn't have to, like, nobody second guess what Mickey Loomis is doing. But now the veil has been, lifted, right? Sean Payton and Drew Brees are gone. Now we're starting to see the cracks in the armor here. And now he's in a position that he hasn't been in a very long time, which is being questioned. Because I feel like, to me, that created, Sean Payton and Drew Brees created this false sense of reality of what Mickey Loomis actually is as an executive. Like, it's almost like, okay, I got these bell peppers, I got this garlic, I got these beans right here. Man, what can I do with them? Man, give them to me. And Sean Payton is like, give them to me. Drew Brees like, give it to me, and we gonna make a good meal. We eating, right? But Mickey Loomis is like, well, I went to the store, I got the groceries, I got the combination. That's what this is about. Like, to me, like, this is a guy who never had to, like, answer a tough question, really, because nobody really had too many answers. Like, there were whispers and stuff like that, but then the Saints are going a 2 or 3 game winning streak and nobody cares anymore. But now he's being asked tough questions he hasn't been asked in 20 years. And this is a guy who, once again, has this false sense of reality based on Sean Payton and Drew Brees coming in. like now he feels like, oh, I always had the answers. Well, have you always had the answers? To me, I don't know. I don't know. But this is a guy to me that's doubling down. He's doubling down. Like he is like this. You can tell. Like it's unbelievable how stubborn this guy is. Like he is absolutely stubborn, and he will. And the crazy thing is, like Mickey Loomis. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Mickey Loomis would run this organization into the ground to be right about something. And he wouldn't even care. It almost like he wouldn't even care. He wouldn't even care about what the ramifications are. But that's what happens when you're basically made of Teflon. You're the executive vice president of the team. You're third in command of this entire organization. So unless Dennis Lausch has an issue with him or Gail Benson has an issue with him, he isn't going anywhere. So you can run this organization any way you want to. That's what people aren't understanding. Like, so it's basically just a waste of time, like just saying, oh man, get rid of Mickey. Like, unless Mickey, you catch Mickey like down bad somewhere, like in an alley somewhere in downtown New Orleans, or catch him with, and I'm not saying this, I'm just using this as an example, 3 or 4 prostitutes or something like that in a precarious position. Like this guy isn't going anywhere. It's just that simple. He's not going anywhere. So we're basically just wasting our time. And we're expecting for an old, stubborn white man to and that guy has plenty of money to change his ways. Does it look like he's willing to change a budge for our opinions? Absolutely not. But we'll see. We'll see if they can come up with the right things. But don't expect for Saints fans to just jump on board. Like they're gonna have to earn the trust and the love for this coaching staff. They're gonna have to like win some football games in order to get people back into their good graces. So they are going to have to be prepared. They're gonna have to be prepared to actually go through some hardships at the beginning of the season. They're gonna have to be willing to sacrifice that because I can't see the Superdome being sold out. I can't see people watching training camp in 100-degree heat and record numbers like they once did, knowing for a fact that they got a lame duck coach and a general manager that doesn't want to seem to get out of his own way. Mickey has a percentage of the team. He is not going anywhere. Yeah, I mean, he's third in command of the entire organization, which is, I like to give myself credit for that. I'm the one that put that article out there. And now all of a sudden, like everybody seems to be talking about it. So I just wanted to put it out there quite frankly, because I didn't feel like enough people were talking about it. And that plays a huge role in the decision making. Let's see, Mickey going to use all his unlimited continues. Unfortunately, Leslie, this division is getting better. We only encourage Saints to get better. I kind of hope Panthers and Falcons get knockout coaches so Mickey can't see Dennis Allen in over his head. I hope Falcons just don't get JD5. Well, I tell you what, they interviewed Jim Harbaugh today. So if they get a chance to get Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, might be a little tough for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, we all know that the Atlanta Falcons, the only thing that was standing in their way was coaching and quarterback. And if they can solve those two problems, they can be a force to be reckoned with. And you already got issues with Tampa where they got their good defense. And I don't know, like maybe this outlier year with Baker Mayfield, but it seemed like they trended in the right direction. And Carolina, I know people weren't paying attention to them because they were so bad offensively, but they had a really good defense. And if they can get some offensive players and Bryce Young start living up to his potential, they can be a dangerous team. Unless Mickey does some insider trading, he's going to be the GM. Yep. He ain't going away. He already just he pretty much confirmed that. Right. They don't even change on their deathbeds, wasting our breath. I ain't buying none of the all-season hype or product until I see the wins. I agree. And that's something that they're going to have to be prepared to do, Derek. They're going to have to be willing to understand that people aren't going to just embrace this team. And then when you see press conferences like the one we just saw, like him just sitting up there, like, being as arrogant as he is, it's not bringing anybody back. And to me, like I said, I just feel like this whole conversation and the questions that he was asked, he felt like even the questions themselves were beneath him. Like, how can you run an organization? Like seriously, how can you run an organization when you don't read the pulse of the people? When you don't, respect the people that go and spend their hard-earned money on a product that you're trying to give to them. Like that I mean, I don't understand it. Like the only thing I got from that entire interview from the times that we listened to it was this is a guy that feels like he knows everything and people outside the organization know nothing. So shut up, buy our merchandise, come to the games. We know what we're doing. We don't need your help. It's just that simple. Like, how in the world can you sit up here and say, okay, we gonna pick the offensive coordinator without taking into consideration who your quarterback is? So if you go out here and get an offensive coordinator that's known for running the RPO, right? he run the RPO well. Like, you gonna bring him in? You gonna bring him in because that probably wouldn't work since Derek Carr, is not an RPO quarterback. Like, so you're not gonna take into consideration his thoughts or his views about it. I'm not saying let it be the deciding factor, but understand, make him feel comfortable, which is what y'all been trying to do. But just little stuff like that, like we don't listen, we don't ask players to make decisions. We're not saying ask to make decisions, but you also want to do what's in the best interest of said player, right? But it's probably because you already know what he's gonna do. Like this guy is so predictable to his absolutely ridiculous. Frank Reich is coming. Eric Bieniemy, you know what I'm saying? Like one of these, guys that's been in the league for I don't know how long. More than likely that's gonna happen. He gonna get a guy like John Gruden up in that joint. Like he already know what's gonna happen. The thing was the size of the football. I just took the biggest dump at work. Well, congratulations to you. You're regular. Bet is thinking. Mickey is sounding like Jerry Jones. Well, he can now. Like I said, he feels empowered. He has a coach that's, mum's the word, passive aggressive, and it makes his shadow even bigger. And that's something he always wanted. You can tell the way he's talking, tell the way he's chewing that gum. He's just very, very confident within himself. For the first time in, I don't know, like 20 years, people actually are interested to hear what Mickey Loomis has to say. I promise you, man, I've been like, as long as I was watching the Saints where Sean Payton was the head coach or even Jim Hasley, like I never looked and wondered man, I wonder what Mickey Loomis has to say. Never. But for the first time in nearly 20 years, people are actually interested to hearing what he has to say. And I think that he gets off on, stuff like that. I think he gets off on being a topic of conversation every single week on WWL. Like Jerry Jones is 105.3 The Fan out there in Dallas. Like, him having a weekly spot, on those shows and talking about the Cowboys. Like, I think he gets off on the fact that he talks to Mike Hollis every single week and be the topic of conversation. I think he gets off on the fact that he knows that when he leaves the podium, several other podcasts going to be like that, where they're talking about and breaking down what Mickey Loomis has to say. Because for the first time, once again, in 20 years, people actually care about what he thinks. Like, nobody was checking for no Mickey Loomis when Sean Payton was the coach. Now it seems like he knows that. Like, even his demeanor. Like, if you go back and you listen to classic Mickey Loomis interviews, they don't sound like that. It's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, not really answering questions. Oh, we're not gonna get into that. All that kind of stuff. Y'all. Like he basically talked for 11 minutes and said absolutely nothing. Like that's just what it is. Like he gets off on stuff like that. Like look, I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. Like being a broadcaster, when I was at Jackson State, I majored in communication, right? And I tell people all the time, we used to have like different speech classes. Right? I know I don't sound like I took speech classes because, I choose not to be the professional, like always talking like I'm all astute and stuff. Like, man, miss me with all that. You understand what I'm saying. But anyway, you take these classes, right? And they teach you about persuasion, rhetorical, like rhetorical classes, public speaking classes. And one subject that they teach you about is body language, right? And also semiotics, the study of signs and symbols. Like, So the tests were basically you analyzing videos of individuals, rather it's like them being in court, rather, they taking like, answering questions like from police officers, and you have to kind of depict like, do you feel like that person is telling the truth? Like, are they wringing their were they wringing their hands, or are they, scratching their head like this? Like, you basically had to analyze if that person is nervous or not. All I'm saying is, like, just based on the body language or what I see, like, you can honestly tell, like, it's completely different from his classic interviews. His classic interviews where he just basically talking 11 minutes about absolutely nothing. Now you see a guy who seems like he's empowered. He looks like he's empowered. So I'm just saying, like, to me, this isn't about Dennis Allen. Like, to me, this isn't about Dennis Allen. And this isn't about the fans. This is about a guy who wanted attention for nearly 20 years and getting it. And I'm going to continue to say that. This is about a guy who played the background, and finally, this is David Ruffin. Y'all, like, I don't know if y'all remember this, right? So for those that watched the movie The Temptations, like, like Eddie Kendrick was the one that was leading all the songs. He was the one that led the song, The Way You Do the Things You Do. He was the one, Just My Imagination. Y'all know he was the leading singer. Then all of a sudden, Smokey Robinson, asked David Ruffin to come to the front. I got a song for you. Y'all remember that, right? They was at the piano, and he was like, I got a song for you. I got a song for you. And then he was like, nah, for you, Eddie. It's for you, David. And all of a sudden, he started playing the ballad for My Girl. And then the next thing you know, David Ruffin led My Girl, became a #1 hit. He ride around with a Rolls Royce with Flim. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the movie. It's a classic, all right? But this is a guy for the first time gets an opportunity to lead a song. And now all of a sudden he riding around with the Rolls Royces with Flim. And Flim, I mean Dennis Allen. He riding around, excited about My Girl, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, right? Now he already got My Girl. Now he's looking for Ain't Too Proud to Beg. So this is a guy that is really excited about the newfound attention that he's getting. And I don't see any signs of letting up. You're begging me not to leave, and I refuse to let you go. That boy Mickey Loomis is excited about this moment right here. I'm telling y'all, man, this man is excited about singing this joint. He finally get to sing the lead, man. All these years, Sean Payton been singing them lead songs. He was the Eddie Hendricks. The Eddie Kendricks. He been leading all the songs, and now this is my moment to shine. I'm coming through with the Rolls Royce. I'm coming through with the fine woman at the picnic. It's time to go home. That's me. That man said he wants his attention. Y'all gonna let Mickey get his time. He gonna get his segments on WWL. I'm telling you, man. That's what this is about. This is not about Dennis Allen. It is not about Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen is probably like 5% of what this is. Now it is 95% Mickey Loomis. Think about it. Look, for all those that just think that I'm reaching right now, because I know some people in the chat who always seem to pop up after shows, TJ, you reaching. I'll just encourage you to go back and look at Mickey Loomis' press conference. I don't know, 2019, 2018. Go back and look at it. Go back and look at those press conferences. Look at those press conferences and look at the one today and tell me what's the difference. Go back and take a look. I'm not even trying to convince you. I'm leading you to the sources. Go back and take a look. This is a guy that's empowered. And he's not going to allow anybody to rob him of this moment. And y'all going to sit back and y'all going to be a part of this moment as long as he feel like it, because he likes it. I mean, this is one of those situations. Look, this is the Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson type thing. All Jerry Jones wanted was attention, recognition. He didn't like the fact that Jimmy Johnson was getting all the attention. He was the one responsible for turning around the Cowboys. He was the one that was responsible for the dynasty. He was so envious that he let Jimmy Johnson go and brought in Barry Switzer because he did not like that. Now, he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that with Sean Payton. He couldn't do that with Sean Payton because Tom Benson wouldn't have let him. Like, look, once Sean Payton won the Super Bowl, like, if Tom Benson, let's just say Tom Benson was like in his 60s or something like that let's just say if he was much younger and he was still around, Sean Payton would still be the coach. It probably would have been like where Mickey Loomis is. Sean Payton probably would have been there. He probably would have been the executive vice president of the football team or had like a really high position when it was all said and done. Once he hoisted that Lombardi trophy and the entire world saw him as the owner of the New Orleans Saints hoist the Lombardi trophy, could not do any wrong. See, it was different from the Cowboys because the Cowboys already had a tradition of winning. You had Tom Landry as the head coach. Tom Landry already had, 2 Super Bowls, right? So, you couldn't just pull that off. You know what I'm saying? Those are Cowboys we talking about. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who is desperately looking for his moment. He got it. He's not going to let it go. And I don't care what anybody says about this opinion. Like, you're not going to convince me otherwise. Mickey has been hating on Sean Payton for years, and Mickey said, it's my turn now. I don't know if he was hating on him. I don't know if he was hating on him. I don't know if he was hating on him, but I think that there was a level of envy towards him. Like, the love and respect that Sean Payton got and him playing the background of it. And I don't care what you like. If you feel like if you're involved with something, you want at one time or another, you want somebody to show appreciation to you. And when people start talking about the Saints organization, think about this. When people start talking about the Saints organization, who do they mention? They mention Sean Payton, Drew Brees. His name come up. Do people say, man, when it comes to the New Orleans Saints and, the respect that they got over the last 15 years, man, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Mickey Loomis, do anybody bring up Mickey Loomis? Nope. You always hear Drew Brees, Sean Payton, Drew Brees. His name never comes up. And when you feel like, well, I'm the guy who hired Sean Payton, I'm the guy who was responsible for signing Drew Brees, I should get some type of, respect or some type of acknowledgement for it, right? It's just human nature. It's just human nature. Like, you want some level of recognition. I ain't saying they got to throw you a tank or tuck parade with confetti and pyrotechnics, but you want some level of, respect and acknowledgement. And now this is his moment. And also you got to take into account, too, this is legacy for him as well. Because if he can actually win with a coach that a lot of people just say is not very good, how good would that make him look in the eyes of the NFL, in the eyes of Saints fans? For him to take a coach with a 26-48 record or something like that, or 28-46 record, and turn him into a credible coach, a playoff winning coach, that's going to happen. But if he can do that, then he's going to get the recognition that he deserves. And that's what he's looking for. He's looking for some recognition. And Dennis Allen's passive-aggressive behavior, him not willing to rock the boat or doesn't really care that much about getting attention. I feel like, honestly, if he didn't have to talk to the media, Dennis Allen probably would never talk to the media if he wasn't obligated to do so. Like I said, I don't even think Mickey Loomis likes talking to the media. It's just the fact that he gets off on the fact that people want to hear from him and hear what he has to say. That's my opinion about it. But, You can check out the entirety of that interview on New Orleans Saints YouTube channel. Shouts out to them. Shouts out to their team. They're very, very kind folks over there, and they're willing to allow this channel to actually post this stuff without being demonetized. Which what I'm saying, that was kind of them. But at the end of the day, I don't see no end in sight, man. I don't. So just hoping, pray for the best with that nation. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Because it don't seem like this guy is budging at all. Mickey was in the shadows too long. Now it's his time to shine. Let's see. Why would they finally decide to get rid of P. Carmichael? Because, he low-hanging fruit at this point. Like, I don't know. Because here's the thing. You're prolonging the process, right? By trying to keep Dennis Allen around, people feeling like he a lame duck coach, feeling like he ain't good enough to win no football games, right? You're basically prolonging the inevitable. And we all know that you don't replace one coach with one particular personality. You don't replace him with the same type of guy, right? So the next guy that comes in, I'm pretty sure, like, you're going to have to understand that he is probably going to be a guy that has a dominating personality. And once again, if you're a guy who's been playing the shadows for nearly 20 years, you're not looking forward to that moment. You know what I'm saying? You taking this victory lap and you trying to, milk it for all it's worth. So, so I guess, there's two things that's going to happen here. Like Dennis Allen has to work. Dennis Allen has to work in order for the world to see Mickey Loomis. Let's see. Did you see that fourth down comment? That's crazy. Why would you have a coach that didn't have a fourth down play no matter the situation? You have to have a coach that is always prepared. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, man, I just watch the games, man, at this point. I still love the New Orleans Saints. I'm always going to love the New Orleans Saints, but I just watch the game. I have absolutely no emotional investment in the New Orleans Saints because until they have an emotional investment in the fans and the people that actually love this team, I have absolutely no emotional investment in this team. I just watch the games. I hope that they win just like everybody else. And then I come behind this microphone and I just give it to you all straight. That's it. I don't have any emotional investment because this team has basically just conceded that the people that have been hiding in the shadow for so long, it's just about them right now. Not about winning, not about what the fans want, not about putting the best product on the field or what the players want or what the players feel like they need to succeed. This is about people that have been ignored for far too long, getting the attention that they deserve. So until it's proven otherwise, I'm gonna act accordingly. When this team starts to act like they actually want to win something, then I guess my emotion will come back. But I still love this team. Like I'm never gonna give up on the Saints. I'm never gonna stop cheering for them. I'm never gonna stop wanting them to succeed. But I'm just not gonna sit up here and just lose my voice or lose sleep or do all those other things like that people do when they're emotionally investing in something for a team that not emotionally invested in me and only cares about what they feel and not what the fans feel. That's why I'm here. I'm here because of each and every one of you. Like I love what I'm doing. I love talking to you all. Like I love being the voice of the Saints fans. Like, and I'm not saying that for me. People have given me that moniker, and I appreciate that. I was born in the city. I was raised in the city of New Orleans. I walked the streets just like, a lot of you did. I caught the RTA bus just like a lot of you did, right? I used to go to them corner stores, get them hot sizes on French dress with the chiwis, just like all of you. Big shot sodas, cold drinks. I used to do all those things, just like everybody else, So that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the Saints fans that have been devoted and love this team with everything that they had since they can talk. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not this is not a shot at anybody. I'm not a corporate stooge. I'm not looking for press credentials to walk inside this organization. If I have to sell my soul to do so, I can continue to grow and be here on the State of the Saints podcast. I'm doing pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I ain't never stepped foot in the Saints organization. I'm doing pretty good for myself. So I can continue to do what I love to do here, which is talk about the New Orleans Saints. And if you rock with me, you rock with me. You know what I'm saying? If you don't, you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't really matter. Right? But we gonna give it to you straight here, no chaser. Straight no chaser over here, man. That's how we gonna do it. So if you want a watered down version of New Orleans Saints football, this ain't the place for you. I can't tell you where you can get that. I ain't trying, like I said, I ain't taking no shots at nobody, but you ain't about to get it here. Yeah, you're not about to get it here. Like I'm not about to do that. Like I love you all too much to be sitting up here lying to you. And God has been good to me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the reason why is because I stayed true to myself. There was a time, and I'll leave on this note, and I probably lost some of you, but it is what it is. There was a time where I probably could have went down that road. And there was a time where I thought maybe I should change it up just a little bit, you know what I'm saying, in order for me to look a little bit more appealing. But when I realized that when I couldn't listen to myself. When I couldn't listen to myself, I was like, nah, I'm holding back. But when I decided not to, I feel free. And I'm excited and I'm happy to do the show. I look forward to doing it. And I hope that you all enjoy the content because we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to continue to grow. You know, not only here on the State of the Saints, got the Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast coming right, you know, in the month of February. We're going to be talking about sports there. Of course, y'all know about me being going to be at the Senior Bowl in a couple of weeks. Got the Unapologetic Podcast coming back. You know, that's going to start February 1st. So I'm just excited to do content and give you all great content. That's my focus. That's my goal. I don't care about anything else but that. So I do appreciate you all. Thank you for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Facebook.com, search Gumbo Pod Sports podcast. You can check that out. And also previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. You can follow me on X at TJAYJones8. I really do appreciate you all's time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, morning, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is, who dat?
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Oh, yeah, before I go, I just seen this one. Misdemeanor Crimes, thank you so much for the $2. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, you know. And y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Misdemeanor Crimes channel, too. She does an outstanding job. I was actually listening to you as I was taking Paxton to school yesterday, as a matter of fact. So keep up the good work. Now, all I got to say is, who dat?